Welcome back, guys. Thanks for the huge support for this series. Today's like goal is 1,000 likes, so please hit the like button. Please consider subscribing if you haven't subscribed yet. In the previous part, our Giga Chat MC took the 5-star quest and took his first step toward becoming harem king. I mean becoming strong. If you haven't watched the previous part, the link is in the description. Now let's continue the story. Upon his arrival at the transmission center, Su-young was met with an unusual scene. A multitude of hunters idly gathered, not out of choice, but due to an unexpected energy fluctuation disrupting the portal's operation. This delay, a rare inconvenience at the center, had caught everyone off guard, including Su-young. However, Su-young, unlike many others, was not particularly perturbed by the holdup. He had no immediate rush to begin his journey to the Cold Moon Jungle and decided to use the unexpected pause to better plan his trip. But not many shared his opinion. Among those affected by the delay was a city girl named Shu-yan, and she stood out from the crowd. Her distinct displeasure was noticeable. Coming from a large, bustling city, she was unaccustomed to and unprepared for the inefficiencies and problems of smaller towns. Her disappointment was compounded by the unwanted attention from local men, prompting her to caution her sister, Shu-qian, to stay close and avoid getting separated in the crowded space. "I think she deserves the attention she is getting." Shu-qian, understanding her sister's concern, complied, but her attention soon shifted when she spotted a familiar figure among the crowd. It was Su-young, calmly waiting in line for the portal, a sight that unexpectedly warmed her heart and brought a blush to her cheeks. But this moment of recognition did not go unnoticed by Shu-yan. She sensed her sister's sudden interest, and so she quickly inquired about the focus of her gaze, which flustered Zu-qian immediately. But still, she tries her best to downplay her reaction by explaining that Su-young was simply a classmate who had also changed professions the day before. But Shu-yan just found this odd because Su-young is currently lining up for a portal leading to the notoriously dangerous Cold Moon Jungle, a destination ill-suited for novices. Concerned that Su-young might be unaware of the risks, Shu-qian felt compelled to warn him against proceeding without adequate preparation. However, before they could act on their intentions, the portal's operations unexpectedly resumed, and Su-young was swiftly transported to his destination, leaving Zu-qian in a state of shock and worry for his safety. Unbeknownst to her, Su-young stepped into the Cold Moon Jungle with confidence, and therefore quickly noticed the absence of other hunters. This solitude in such a dangerous area piqued his curiosity, suggesting that the other hunters had perhaps sensed the imminent danger and scattered, leaving him to face the jungle's threats alone. And his suspicions were confirmed when a monster launched an attack from behind. But Su-young was fast in his feet and avoided the attack. But as he faced the creature head-on, he recognized it as a target from his quest, which he didn't expect to appear so soon. Since dealing with this kind of monster is really tricky if one relies on oneself alone without using trading prop and equipments, and as expected, the monster was fierce and fast, closing the distance instantly. Unfortunately for it, Su-young has tricks of his own, taking out his long red flaming sword and sliced that big black monster like butter, and quickly cooked it right after, as its buff ability was on effect. This was such an unnecessary overkill, but Su-young just wanted to use this sword at full power as fast as possible, since he had used a great amount of money in order for him to use it, all because this weapon doesn't have a gem slot to begin with. At first he thought he could use it right away since he got the gem which ignore level requirements, but without a slot, it was useless. So he has to use a high-level drilling stone to carve in one, but luck wasn't on his side when he was doing this, as it kept on failing again and again, which drained his wealth from 100 million to 60 million. Nonetheless, getting to use this weapon is lucky enough, so he just decided to look at the brighter side of things, and he still has the long bow that was owned by Zhao Ming. If he is able to sell this, then he will gain the money that he lost, and maybe Zhao Ming himself would buy this back, which is very funny if he thinks about it. But his financial concerns must be put aside for the moment, as Su-young found himself under attack from monsters once again. Fortunately, he didn't need to flee thanks to a silver-level scroll in his possession. This scroll activated a charging barrier around him, capable of absorbing up to 50,000 points of damage, effectively shielding him from the onslaught, and the low-level monsters have low IQ, so they keep on continuing to attack the barrier non-stop, unwittingly positioning themselves exactly where Su-young had intended. With this, Su Yang unleashed a devastating swing of his sword, emitting a fiery whirlwind that swept through the monsters. This powerful attack allowed him to eliminate 15 wolves in a single stroke. However, his quest required him to vanquish 100 wolves, and he realized that hunting them down individually would prove to be a troublesome and time-consuming task. To streamline this process, Su Yang pulled a monster attraction stone from his inventory. This unique item, usually dropped by low-level bosses, had the ability to lure both ordinary and elite monsters within a considerable radius directly to him. Recognizing the tactical advantage this presented, Su Yang activated the stone by tossing it into the sky, where it shattered and unleashed its magic, and almost immediately, the gem's power was evident as wolves swarmed from all directions, surrounding Su Yang, leaving Su Yang with nowhere to run, but retreat was never an option. He considered he was determined to fulfill his quest objectives in a decisive manner. To achieve this, he consumed an intermediate spirit potion, boosting his spirit points significantly, and unfurled a special baptism of fire skill scroll. This scroll allowed him to unleash a devastating area of effect fire attack, enveloping him in a pillar of fire that incinerated any monster daring to approach. This maneuver allowed him to meet the requirement of slaying 100 wolves. But it seems like the attraction stone proved to very effective, as he had attracted all the monsters in the forest. But he is not worried for one bit, as he had numerous amounts of scrolls at his disposal, so he can easily respond in kind against this large number of monsters. Meanwhile, in a remote part of the Cold Moon jungle, a puzzled group of hunters roamed, perplexed by the eerie silence that had replaced the usual cacophony of monstrous growls. Accustomed to fending off aggressive creatures at every turn, their 2-kilometer journey without a single monster encounter raised alarms. The mystery deepened when one hunter recalled seeing a monster that, instead of attacking, fled in the opposite direction. An unheard-of behavior for the typically hostile inhabitants of the forest. Piecing together this odd behavior, the group's most seasoned hunter deduced that a monster attraction stone must be at play, drawing all the monsters to a single point and away from them. And this is such a selfish tactic, as this just wasted the opportunity of other hunters. With this, the group was determined to confront this shameless son of a that wants to get all the rewards for himself, and teach him a lesson that he won't ever forget. But they may have to postpone that thought, as a sudden immense power emerged from where they were headed. The attack was so strong that it had reached the skis above, and the shockwave of it can't be ignored either, as the trio had felt it even from a distance, which made them curse out loud, as this level of magic fluctuation was likely from a third-level magician. So it's safe to say that confrontation was no longer an option. With this, they decided to quit now, and just do something else, as they can just complete their task next time. Meanwhile, back in the desolate aftermath where Su Yang stood, the scene was markedly different from moments ago. The vast number of monsters that had swarmed him were now nowhere in sight. Not a single corpse remained, and the landscape around him was scorched, devoid of vegetation, extending for miles in every direction. This level of destruction marked the completion of 2/3 of his ambitious 5-star job transfer task, leaving only the formidable boss as the final hurdle. A sense of anticipation lit up Su Yang's face. Despite having to utilize several scrolls to get to this point, the task had proven less challenging than he'd initially thought. Based on the nun's reaction back at the temple now, with only the boss battle ahead, he wondered if this would be the challenge he had been seeking all along, and he eagerly made his way towards its lair. The destination was the Cold Moon Cave, known to be the dwelling of the fearsome Blue Wolf King, a challenge typically recommended for a team of 3 or more hunters all over level 20. With this, just a few blocks away, a group of 3 can be seen peeking through a corner. They are above level 20, and a well-rounded team at that. Among the trio was Zhang the Mage, Li Sen, the tank, and Zhao the Archer. Each plays a crucial role in their planned confrontation with the boss, and Li Sun was particularly confident since their brother Zhang had bought him a primary strength concoction which allows him to survive for a longer period of time. But Zhao the Archer, on the other hand, was skeptical about all of this, since he had just changed his profession recently and haven't tried his new skill yet, so he doesn't even know if they are strong or not. But Zhang couldn't have that, especially when he had prepared this much and he was more than motivated than the other two, because the Wolf King had a 100% chance to drop its crystal core, a prize that could forge a silver-level staff, which is enough for him to use until he reached level 40. And so he tries his best to make Zhao confident about himself, set aside his apprehensions, and focus on the potential rewards their victory could bring. But before he could even finish his speech, Zhao signaled him to stop as he noticed an unexpected figure approaching the cave. With this, all their eyes focus on the mysterious figure, and it was actually Su Yang confidently walking towards the boss lair, quickly alarming the group as they feared he might claim their target first. But upon closer inspection, they realized that this guy is quite young and was notably lacking any form of armor, suggesting he might be inexperienced or lost, and the tank guy asked if they should inform the kid about it. But the selfish Zhang quickly dismissed this idea with a scornful smack, believing his suggestion was stupid. As he thinks differently, he saw this as an opportunity to use the newbie as a bait for free, and while they wait for him to absorb the first wave of the boss skills, which they assume he couldn't even survive, they can go up and reap the benefits. With this, Lisan couldn't help but admire Zhang's cunningness. Unfortunately for them, it didn't go as they had planned, as the ground beneath them began to tremble. This unforeseen quake was the result of Su Yang's actions. His eradication of a significant number of wolves in the Cold Moon Jungle had incited the rage of the Wolf King. Infuriated by the loss of its pack, the Wolf King's power surged by 30%. But as an onlooker, the trio remained clueless, unable to comprehend why the boss was enraged by the arrival of the newbie. With this, Zhang assumed that the newcomer had messed up their whole plan, and he wasn't about to let that slide, especially when there were spoils to be claimed. So he pops out of hiding, trying to rally his crew to move now before the boss dips out on them because of this mess. And he was convinced that the kid would get folded easily, so they have to get their ass up immediately. But before he could even get close, an intense gust of wind suddenly blew on his face, pulling his hood back and forcing his gaze forward, and he couldn't believe what he is witnessing right now. Even his crew were exactly the same expression as him. Turns out, the newbie they thought was going to get wrecked flipped the script entirely. As he took down the boss with one clean hit, light work no reaction type of shit. It wasn't even a fight! Now they realize not to judge a book by its cover, as the kid is one hell of a monster himself. Meanwhile, Su Yang remained stoic as it proved that the 5-star quest he was made to believe was hard, was nothing but child's play. After taking down the boss, Su Yang sifted through his loot with high hopes, only to be met with disappointment. The items dropped were mediocre at best, a far cry from the riches he'd amassed as a dragon. Among these, the Wolf King's crystal core stood out, not for its value to Su Yang, but for its sheer lack of appeal. Still, he was done with his quest, so there is that going for him. And so he decided to go back to the transfer hall. But before he could, Zhang completely heard his dismissive comments about the core, and so he tries his luck by asking Su Yang if he would be so kind to just give it to him. But little did he know, Su Yang had caught every word of his earlier disrespect and his plans to use him as mere bait, and therefore Su Yang confronts Zhang about this, and his shitty personality, because now that things didn't go as he pleased, he has the audacity to try befriend him and get what he wants. Well, too bad. Su Yang isn't a pushover that they can just step on. And so Su Yang shattered the core in front of Zhang's face, establishing dominance and a lesson not to mess with him ever again. And if he so wants to fight him right now, he would be glad to give him some smoke. And because Zhang was bitchmate, even though he was violated like that, he didn't do nothing and just let Su Yang walk away. At the same time, Zhang's crew can't believe what just happened as well, and they wish all of this was just a dream, because no one would even believe them that they encountered a damn rookie this strong who can kill a boss with one swing. A few moments later, Su Yang had successfully returned to the Hunter's Square, where he was met by the nun he had recently encountered. She initially thought he had come back with more questions, but Su Yang quickly set the record straight, informing her that he had completed his 5-star task and was ready for his job transfer. And only shock could be seen on her face. This was understandable since he took up a 5-star transfer task after all, and finishing at this rate is totally unheard of, which in turn made the nun skeptical. But as she checked out the receipts, It seems like Su Yang wasn't lying at all. Su Yang had indeed accomplished the task, and with this, the nun began to see him in a new light. This guy isn't a show-off nor an idiot after all. It turns out he was really powerful, so powerful that it made people wonder if he was cheating. But the system won't lie, and the fact that he returned uninjured speaks volume of his strength. As she continues to look at him intently, Su Yang felt increasingly uncomfortable, and so he snaps her out of it by inquiring whether he could now initiate his job transfer, which was successful, and so the nun led him to the statue once more. But as they made their way to the statue, the nun found herself increasingly preoccupied with thoughts of Su Yang's remarkable strength. She considered how advantageous it would be for her church to have someone of his caliber exclusively. Luckily, she had already informed the priest about Su Yang, reducing the risk of him being recruited by others. But as she continued to think about Su Yang, her thoughts took a more personal turn. She revealed to be down horrendous for real. Like damn, she a nun, but she down to get dirty with Su Yang since he is also pretty handsome, and she was even thinking of getting his contact information after this ordeal was over, and the thought of being with this guy is already driving her crazy. But these thoughts were momentarily set aside as they arrived at the statue, and not a moment wasted. As Su Yang stepped closer, and almost instantly, a burst of light shines above, and then several beams of light descended swiftly and penetrated him in succession, filling him with powerful energy. This spectacle signaled that he had successfully passed the test and was now prepared to undergo his profession change. And then immediately, a golden halo started to materialize around his wrist. This was a job halo, a special reward given to players who complete the job change tasks, and its color and the bonuses it provides vary according to the difficulty of the task completed. Starting from white for a 2% bonus, green for a 4% bonus, blue for a 6% bonus, purple for a 10% bonus, and then to orange for the highest tier, offering a staggering 25% bonus to basic attributes. This is beyond what he expected, and he could feel it. He had really grown significantly. Additionally, he also changes to a demon warrior class, a hybrid class, adept in both close combat physical skills and a broad range of magic abilities, enhancing his versatility and overall power. Furthermore, since he had completely changed his job, his level cap was elevated to 40, and the surplus of 400,000 experience points from his previous endeavors instantly boosted his level to 34. This significant jump provided him with 210 attribute points, which he swiftly allocated to enhance his strength and spirit to 90 each and his speed by 30. This strategic distribution of attributes, combined with his flaming sword, dramatically amplified his capabilities. Su Yang's strength surged to over 500, his spirit reached 300, and his speed climbed to 100, marking a substantial evolution from his initial state. But the blessings didn't end there, as he had also received the promised epic skill book specific to the demon warrior profession, in which contains an epic grade skill named Magic Blade, enabling him to forge a weapon out of condensed magical power, inflicting full magic damage, and the damage of it increases with his strength and mental attributes. This was such a great skill that Su Yang didn't think twice to try it out, materializing a blade made out of mana and swung it. But to his surprise, the skill's capabilities exceeded his expectations, as the blade can be controlled through mere thought, and can even be transformed at will without being restricted by appearance. This adaptability made it invaluable for close-quarter combat and ranged attacks alike, and the most important thing about this skill is that it could be enlarged infinitely, and only limited by Su Yang's mana reserves, which is equivalent to owning an heirloom weapon that couldn't be destroyed, showcasing remarkable cost efficiency. There was no doubt that it was indeed a 5-star job transfer mission. The distinction was clear, as the rewards far surpassed those of lesser tasks, and with this, Su Yang resolved to pursue more 5-star challenges in future job changes, but his trains of thought were disrupted by the nun, congratulating him on his achievement, and from today on, his name will be engraved on the temple monument, and he will become a VIP guest of the Job Transfer Temple. But speaking of VIPs, Su Yang went ahead and asks what the privileges were. My man got his priorities in order, eager to get all the benefits. But the nun was unsure of the details, and so she suggested waiting a moment while she sought clarification from her superiors. But it seems like there was no need for that, as another figure showed up to the scene, willing to explain everything regarding matters related to VIPs. And all I could say is, damn! I don't know about you or what the temple is cooking here, but I need to reincarnate now. I will definitely work damn hardest and become a pope that will spread the temple's words and… I am sorry my emotions just took over. I apologize. Dressed in an enchanting white gown, the newcomer was none other than Bai Ling, the senior priest of the transfer temple in Dangling City. Her arrival caused a stir, surprising even the nun. The position of senior priest is nearly equivalent to the highest authority within the temple, making her presence at this moment noteworthy. But the equally surprising thing that Su Yang had accomplished was enough of a reason, and naturally, she had to receive such an important guest in person. But, with Bai Ling now present to address any inquiries and formalities, the nun's role was rendered unnecessary, prompting Bai Ling to politely dismiss her, which she understood. But deep down, she was crying her hearts out, as she had not yet acquired Su Yang's contact information. Now that was settled, Bai Ling approached Su Yang, extending her arm for a handshake. Simply puzzled by her gesture, Su Yang hesitated until Bai Ling explained that it was simply the easiest way to transport him privately to the VIP room for a more detailed discussion. Trusting her intentions, Su Yang grasped her hand, only to witness a magic circle envelop them, a precursor to their sudden teleportation. In an instant, they found themselves in a different section of the temple, revealing the handshake to be a sophisticated space transfer technique. Su Yang marveled at the realization that a temple priest from a third-tier city possessed such advanced abilities. No wonder people say that the strength of the transfer temple is unimaginable. And as Su Yang was thinking this, Bai Ling noticed Su Yang's look of wonder and modestly downplayed her abilities. She mentioned that her skills weren't inherently powerful. Rather, they are just borrowed power from the temple's sacred statue, that's all to it. On the contrary, he is more surprising. According to the current records, there had never been a 5-star job changer in Dangling City. And even in the Tianling City, the last successful 5-star job transfer had occurred a decade prior. This surprised Su Yang, since Tianling City is the superior city of Dangling, and its development level is several levels higher than that off Dangling. But only one of them had been able to complete a 5-star task in 10 years. So it seems like the value of completing this 5-star transfer task were far greater than he had initially perceived. And just as he had realized, Bai Ling began detailing the suite of benefits awarded to him by the transfer temple, in accordance with its long-standing traditions. Firstly, Su Yang was to receive a generous monthly allowance of 10 million in the national currency, a substantial sum that underscored the value placed on his accomplishment. Secondly, he was granted a black gold status authentication from the X-Alliance, entitling him to a 20% discount on all purchases and transactions, a privilege that would undoubtedly make his adventures and endeavors both more efficient and cost-effective. I think there are some hidden ones they are not telling us about, but we will find out eventually. This revelation left Su Yang in awe of the temple's largesse, particularly as these benefits were seamlessly integrated with his ID, simplifying his access to these newly acquired privileges. However, Bai Ling had more surprises in store. She further explained that Su Yang's exceptional status also afforded him the opportunity to join any A-level guild within the city. But Su Yang, accustomed to operating solo, inquired Bai Ling if joining a guild was obligatory, which Bai Ling reassured him it wasn't a requirement, but strongly recommended considering it, as the collective resources and support a guild offers could significantly accelerate his growth and strength. An individual's ability is limited after all. Furthermore, joining a guild comes with added benefits like experience buffs, aura enhancements, and crucially, team protection, making it an attractive option over going it alone. And Su Yang understood this line of reasoning, and it is also true that a solo player can easily be targeted, especially those like him who had taken the spotlight. While confident in his abilities against a hunter of the same level, facing a significantly higher level hunter could pose real challenges, and having a guild would likely prevent that from ever happening. And he really needs any help that he could get, since his aspirations extended far beyond the confines of Dangling City. He aimed to become a dominant figure across all realms, a prospect that puts a smile on Su Yang's face. Now that was decided. Su Yang asked Bai Ling what guilds are there to choose from, prompting her to reveal that there are currently only 2 A-level guilds in Dangling City, and based on various data, she recommended the spirit hunting guild as the most suitable option for him. This suggestion landed awkwardly with Su Yang, considering his recent encounters with members of that guild, eager to explore alternatives. He prompted Bai Ling to introduce the other guild, leading to the mention of the Yu Yun Guild. Unlike the Spirit Hunting Guild, the Yu Yun Guild was known for its strength and discretion, competing closely, yet maintaining a low profile. But Su Yang doesn't care. He only wants to join any guild other than the Spirit Hunt Guild, so he chose Yun without much thought, which surprised and confused Bai Ling. But choosing this guild would be much more of an entertaining sight for her, and so proceeded to manage the membership formalities on his behalf, seamlessly integrating him into the Yu Yun Guild's ranks. But before Su Yang could depart, she very much liked to inform him that the Yu Yun Guild is composed entirely of women, completely catching my boy Su Yang off guard. Our boy has failed the mission successfully. He just took the first step toward making his harem, or you can say managing the harem. And with that, this chapter comes to an end. I hope that you liked today's video, and if you did, hit that like button as today's like aim is 1,000 likes. Comment part 3 down below for the next part. Also consider subscribing with the notification bell on to get notified as soon as a new video drops onto the channel. You can also join the channel to support me financially, and I'll meet you in the next video. Until then, thanks for watching.